Good morning, traders. This is Perry Wilkie with StartupTrading.com. It is 5 minutes till 9 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, August 27th. So, looking back at yesterday's session real quick, um, we had, started off near the low of the previous day, right, on the NASDAQ, went down, just barely took out the low, and then zoomed up uh, towards the high, not zoomed, but went to the midpoint, kind of consolidated at the lower end of value between value area low and point of control, and then in the afternoon just kind of one time framed up. A little sloppily, right? Some of those pullbacks were pretty good for one time framing up, but ended at the previous day's high, which would have been Monday's high, and you can see the ES went over it. As we look at positioning on that as well, you can see that we had that under 570 on the Qs, and then just up, and then you can see 570 was support, and then the expected high of the day for the day positioning wise was 573. We got up to a little bit over that, but basically right at that previous day's high, as we had mentioned in the trade plan, and then the ES as well is it cleared that previous day's high and just had a little short squeeze into the closing shortly thereafter. But it was, very similar picture. It was fighting to get in this congestion zone from 642 to 646, and it basically ran the gamut of that during the bell, right? Very little trades under that 642 early on in the day, and it just kind of went through that whole section in positioning after that. So as we look at you know, the movement for the day, right? Overnight was basically had some decent moves, up 100, down 138, a couple of those 100-point swings back and forth. Then the bell opens down 50, uh, up 55, down 91, up 126, down 60, up 60, down 78, up 100, down 45, up um, 77, basically. So, a lot of action there for us day traders yesterday. As we look at what that did to position, we have salmon run trades, right? That we have trades that went off above the bell high of the day. Uh, Before the session closed, right? So session high trades went off. So that's just that further, these traders were just on the wrong side, right? So we'll have to see if it's capitulation or not. We've been struggling with some of those areas uh, in the overnight session. And as we look at, where we're at on the ES, we did get rid of some untested points of control. So yesterday's point of control, 54.56. We're currently trading 54.81. And then you know, just pressing up against those highs again for the ES, and you can see how much lower, right, the NQ is than the ES as far as relative performance. You've got a, some divergence going on here, so we'll have to see if uh, they can catch up. But you can bet your bottom dollar that there's fills that want to be made up to 23,788 basically, and then again, I would be a little leery if the ES sweeps the high. I'd be a little hands off if the Nasdaq isn't, you know, uh, basically getting near or above this 23,800 level. Um, Looking at the overnight, right, just a mess, basically doing nothing. Very tight ranges, right? You're looking at 65 and a half points for the NQ, which is nothing. Um, so just sitting here. And then as far as that structure from yesterday, right? Yesterday was a little bit of a hot mess. So the lines that I'm watching, I've just got them marked off profile wise. But the top line is that 23,580 basically, and then I have a little bit of a profile structure at 23 555, let's call it, and then uh, down towards 23 480, right? So that would be, all the way through this value area. And you can see that a lot of time spent there. So right now it's just playing keep away and see if we get a slow drift down or not. We are all within yesterday's range at this point after peaking above yesterday's high for everything except for the Russell. And if we look at, positioning again, uh, and before I get too far into position, I'm going to start throwing something extra on the board starting today. So it's going to be basically, if you see this light green uh, dotted line, and if we look back left on the chart, I'm going to add in the toss 1 day expected move low and the 1 day expected move high. I haven't really watched them in years, so we'll see if they add any value or not. So just take them with a grain of salt for now. Uh, but this is basically, this is not rocket science. You can look at options at the end of the day, yesterday, like it's right after the close, and you can see, just what the plus or minus is on the options, and you just, add and subtract that from the close to get these levels. So nothing really special going on here, but it gives you a little bit of a theory or flavor, I should say, for what was as far as the toss mathematicians, and you can say that since Sosnoff left them, which was many, many, many moons ago, uh, that that math uh, hasn't really kept up maybe with the times, but we'll see how it does. I'm gonna end up throwing this on the SPX this morning before I set out the grids, the ES, the NQ, the SPY, and the QQQ. So we'll leave them on here. I haven't decided whether I'm going to throw on the NQ and the ES on the lower or the upper grids, but I'm probably leaning towards the lower grids for now, since the upper grid is more profile structure. The lower is more positioning and looking at things on that time frame. So with that said, uh, what we've got here is a zone, and I've only put it on the SPX yet, those expected moves. So, but let's look at the positioning expected moves, right? The call wall is still at 6,500, right? And we got a couple different zones, and so this might be a little messy, and I keep playing with it, but these pink lines and these yellow lines, they're just there as references, right? So they're just there so you can quickly eyeball and see where you're at to different places. These dash lines are the halfway mark between the $5 strikes. These solid thin pink lines are just a dollar strikes, right? But the positioning is marked off, right? They have these tags on it. So you got your call wall up at 65.80 for the day and the week. And that's just basically because someone has sold a bunch of these up here. I don't think we could hit that, but that's the pain point, because someone sold some options for a couple pennies, right? They sold millions of them up here, just thinking that they could collect some cheap change today. Uh, you would have to go up 100 points in the ES to do that. The expected move was 25, so that's 4 times the expected toss move today. So that's probably not in play. But this call wall here at 6,500 um, is there, and you can see the toss move is right around 64.90 on that as well. So on the lower side, uh, right around 64.40. So you're just looking at 25 points up and down from toss, and then we'll see how it goes. But positioning wise on the SPY, 642 to 646 is like a glob on the chart. So that's all like one little thing, and then you've got up to 650 for the call wall, and that's for the day, the week, and the long term right there. And then you've got some large gammas on and off. So I think we're just sitting there in that. For the Qs, you've got the put wall for today is right at 572. So it's probably the Nasdaq that I'm gonna really watch to see if it holds or loses support, right? So The Nasdaq is supposed to hold 572. We're currently trading 572.31. So you're looking at about 12 points from where we're at on the NQ. So you're looking at basically 23,560 is the put wall for the day. But there is zones as far like a glob on that as well that goes down to 570, and then the top of the glob is around 576. So I'm looking at that as kind of a flip line, potentially this 572, to see if we get a retest near 570, or if we can head up towards 575 to 575 half, right around in there. I really don't have too much other than that today. Watch these structure marks on the top side, and then watch the positioning, and then like I said, take it with a grain of salt. I just for contrast, right, I did like a violet color for the 1-day toss high move, and I did a light green dotted for the 1-day low, and that's how they'll appear on everything. I throw that on here in a few minutes. I hope this helps. You guys have a great day. We'll see what Jack's looking at next.